Fine.
You know what your problem is?
Oh, I have too many to count.
You got civilized. It's the worst thing that can happen to a podcaster.
Nothing worse can happen.
How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. I feel bad for our Patreon listeners because we've taken a little bit of a break between seasons, which is great that we can have that break. Um, but our first recording of the Creed films, I think some of them might think that we did it on purpose, but my video recording didn't work. Thankfully, the audio worked, but the video was black.
Oh,
Like it was just the screen is just completely black. My OBS is the recording software. It required an update. I didn't know that at the time, or something happened. I don't know, but thankfully the audio recorded, so the iTunes release will be there. But for our little, there's a few of our Patreon listeners, and believe it or not, there's a couple that enjoy this video stuff. They actually like watching us talk about things. So I feel bad. That's all.
well, you've let us all down, Ryan. I hope you're happy with yourself.
I am.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. No, well, as anyone knows that listens to the show, of course, I feel bad about that. But it's we're officially recording, so we'll kind of just roll right into it. Do you have anything you want to share or talk about before we start kind of officially starting the show, I guess?
No, I think we're okay. Ready to go. I don't think the Patreon thing's that big of a deal. Stuff happens.
No, I don't think anyone cares. I haven't received any hate mail. So speaking of Patreon, we might as well just plug it. Thank you to everyone that is a patron. So I always say it wrong. It is called Patreon, but once you've pledged or become a patron or
Yeah.
patron, yeah, it's weird. I don't know what. Anyways, that's the lingo, but again, I'm learning too. But thank you to those who are patrons. It helps support the show financially. We do appreciate that. It supports the feed. The feed is not free. So to host this podcast, it's not free, and you're part of the community. And like I said, I do appreciate the chats that I have with the fellow patrons, with Adrian and Lewis and others who say hi to me and stuff. It's kind of nice. It's kind of cool. It's nice to have a little back and forth. Also, we don't have any. So I'll say it. We don't have any new emails, but if you want to send us an email, as we now cover the Creed franchise or anything you want to share with us, it is gtdwithrr at gmail.com. And yeah, follow us on Twitter. Kyle, why don't you bring up your Twitter while we're talking about this?
Oh, yes. I have at least one new follower since the last
I
episode.
was going to say, it's been a bit of a break. So let's check it out. Yeah. I also want to say, I wonder, people don't have to do this, but I wonder if anyone's listening to the podcast now because we're covering Creed. I wonder if
Oh, could be.
yeah.
I doubt. Well, I don't know, because if you had a Venn diagram of Creed fans and Rocky fans, they would almost be on top of each other.
Wow, look at you with that big word, Venn diagram. I lost
The two
followers.
circles, the two circles that come together,
Yeah.
and then the middle parts where that they have in common. Well, this would be like almost on top. There'd be like a little sliver.
Well, I've used I totally know what you're talking about, and I've used that analogy for actual listeners for the podcast. Did you know how many podcasts there are, active podcasts in the world? This is worldwide, mind you, but
Oh, just in general, like any type of podcast.
yeah, not
Oh
not
shit.
not individual episodes, but
Okay, just pod like series that are out there.
yeah.
Oh, I I have no idea. I see like hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. Like it seems like there must be a ton of podcasts out there.
There's a lot. There's anywhere between and this is active, anywhere between 750 to 1 million.
Okay, yeah.
So think about how many you get to choose from. You ever turn on your cable TV or your Netflix, even just Netflix, all your choices. Here's the thing, you only have so much time in the day to watch TV, to listen to a podcast. So I'm always amazed that anyone even listens to the show. And I say that with all seriousness. So thank you to the listeners. Number one, I know I plug Patreon and stuff like that, but I just want to also say thank you to the listeners because we don't have huge numbers, but I think to myself, boy, this is out of a pool of 1 million choices. Somebody actually chose ours. That's, to me, that's actually pretty cool. So thank you guys for listening. and coming back show after show. So Kyle,
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. I totally appreciate it. Kyle, let's see. You've got you have 30 followers now, so there must be somebody new. Yeah.
Yeah, Peter Mirko.
Yes, that's the
I
new one.
believe he is a fan of the podcast.
Yeah,
Because he's also followed by you, so that's why. Basically, anyone who follows you or is followed by you, I just follow back, right?
So
I
here's
assume it's podcast related.
yeah, and I will say this to Peter. Yeah, Ryan, myself, the Ryan Rebalkin Twitter handle, I follow Peter on. So I kind of have this, and bear with me, listeners, since we don't have any emails, you're gonna listen to us talk a little bit. So, send us emails. You won't hear the stupid banter. How I do it for the show, I know this is totally maybe silly, but maybe not, because you try to grow the brand, right? And for the podcast, I really want to have a kind of a nice ratio between. It shows a bit of clout, right? That if we have X number of followers versus how many people we're following, because some people will have like 12,000 followers or 20,000 followers, but then you look and they're following 20,000 people. So it's kind of like but if somebody of like Donald Trump, let's say, he has what 40 million followers, but he's following
Like 200 people,
or 40 people or something like that. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying, but you get the point. But I will say this: how I do it for so basically what I do is, if you are a podcast, so if you're somebody who actually is in the weeds and you're podcasting, you're working on your own podcast, and you happen to follow the Rocky Series Creed podcast, I'll follow you back, because you're kind of like a fellow podcaster. You're out there, you're doing the grind, right? It's kind of my like, hey, respect. If you're a Patreon, I'll follow you back, which I've seen right now that I'm not following the other Greg, so I better do that right now. Follow. There you go. I did it live on the air for you, the other Greg. So no, and I wanted to say that if I'm not following you and you're a Patreon, let me know, because that's kind of like, I'll follow you back. The show will follow you back, going the distance. But if you happen to follow my personal Twitter handle, because I don't really post on that all that often, and Peter, I'm leading to this, Peter Mirko, he follows my Reiner Balkan Twitter handle, so I follow him back on that one, because that's myself, Ryan. I'm not a brand, but the podcast is kind of a brand, so it's a way of growing the brand, so to speak. But anyways, I think that kind of makes sense. So if you're a Patreon, I'll follow you back. If you're one of the original followers of the show, and I followed it at the beginning, of course, I still do. And so it's kind of how we're doing things. And we'll want to thank our new Twitter followers. We got a few. But Kyle, Peter Mirko, he says he loves the Beatles.
Yeah, Beatles are great. He has a rooster. It says a rooster fan. I don't know what that means. The Australian flag, and if I'm correct here, I believe it's the Slovakian flag.
Yeah, if you put your mouse over it, it says Flag of Slovenia. Yeah, good job. Wow.
Is it flag of? Oh, I just have on my phone, and that doesn't work.
Yeah, it says.
Is it Slovenia or
Slovenia.
Slovakia? Okay, so I'm wrong. I thought it was Slovakia.
Well, that's pretty good.
Close-ish.
Yeah.
Close-ish. So Slovenia, that's where Melania Trump is originally.
Ooh.
So maybe they know each other.
They might know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Rocky and Karate Kid fan. Oh, he has a PlayStation Network handle. So if you want to add him, if you want to add him as a PlayStation Network player, it's Plastic Soul altogether. Plastic Soul.
He kind of gives me, when I look, I just enlarged his profile photo. He kind of gives me a little bit of an Elon Musk vibe.
Yeah.
Like they could be cousins or something like that.
Oh, man, the guy's a 3-time kidney transplant recipient.
Which is crazy considering a person only has 2 kidneys.
So he has 3.
Well, I think he maybe had one transferred and then it didn't work out and had to get it again or something.
I know.
Okay. I'm like,
I'm just... Yeah, he was born with 3 kidneys and all 3 of them need to be replaced.
I keep a spare kidney just in case one of the ones go. You know what I mean?
So Peter, we're happy you're alive and well. Well, I don't know if you're well. Sorry. We're happy that you're alive.
He's fine.
Yeah, and we appreciate
good.
We appreciate you following the show. And I think he might. Was he the guy that sent us an email? No, that's a different guy. Okay. Anyways, Peter, thanks for following Kyle and following the show. You're a good man. Okay. Well, we don't have any other emails. We've plugged our email, plugged our Patreon, plugged our Twitter. Oh, yeah, you can also join us on Facebook, Going the Distance podcast. Yeah, well, here we go. It's just 10 minutes. That's it. We're going to roll into Creed. Again, we want to say thank you for following the show still. We know it's going to be every 2 weeks. Might have been some bad news for people that heard that from the previous episode. We appreciate your patience and understanding, and it really has. I've gone back to work this week. As of this recording, I have gone back to work, and I work 12 to 14-hour days when I am at work, and so they're long days. I'm up at 5 in the morning. I'm home at 6 at night. And I have supper with the family, put the kids to bed, and there's just no time to edit. And it's actually the editing of this show that kills me. So there's two options, and this will never happen. But the two options are: I don't edit the show, and basically I know people who are patrons. It's funny, people like Chad Trower, he and Adrian Wall, they listen to this live stuff, and they'll listen to the edit.
Oh, well, that's kind of interesting because they can see what made it and what didn't.
Yeah, and they kind of enjoy the what doesn't make it, but they do enjoy the edit, even though they enjoy the live. But to them, they have also said that the editing, the trimming of the fat, is quality. So,
no, just keep doing what you're doing. Once every 2 weeks is fine.
I know you're so casual, and I understand that. You have to understand, Kyle, this is my baby. I've been doing this for 4 years, and this is my baby, and I feel like, not that I owe anything to anybody.
You do because you want to do.
You beat me to it. It's true, I do because I want to do, and anyways. But work is very busy. Editing is so freaking time consuming that, because I'm also doing the worst of the best. So again, if you want to listen to another podcast that I do produce and host, is called The Worst of the Best Podcast, and that will be the alternate week. So you'll still hear me, Ryan, if you really want to listen to me, once a week, but it's going to alternate between the two shows. Okay. All right, here we go. You got the screen? We ended on
we're good.
That Creed title card, when he says what's his name, and then the Creed title card comes up, it's pretty effective.
Yeah, I like whoever did the artwork for that. I like it.
Yeah, it looks a little beaten up and worn.
Yeah, it looks like when you're you're driving and it'll be like crossing or fire style, like something will be written on the road, painted on the road, but then it gets like worn down from the tires or whatever. This is kind of what this looks like.
All right, so we're gonna now start it. Great music score there with the Creed title card. Okay, so we got the scene here of Adonis taping up his hands. And as a viewer, we don't quite know where he is right now. Oh, whoops, I forgot. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it says Tijuana, Mexico. Okay. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Oh, you thought that was a real fighter, or?
Well, no. Like, so Adonis is taping himself up, and this other guy is also being taped up by a trainer who's talking to him in Spanish. Are they in the same room? This is like the same confusion I had with the first Rocky, with Rocky and Apollo being taped up.
Yeah,
it appeared as if it was in the same room, but it wasn't. I don't know if this is the same thing. Like, are they looking at each other here? Like, I don't know.
We'll play the scene a little bit longer. I don't know the Creed films as well as the Rocky films. I think we talked about this before. I've seen Creed 1, I think maybe 3 times. Maybe 4, but for sure 3. I saw it twice, like once in the theater, once on DVD, maybe 3 times. Yes, I think he is looking at Adonis. We'll keep playing it out. But his trainer here, he has talking to him in, of course, Spanish. This Mexican opponent is staring down Adonis, yes.
And Adonis, you could tell, too, is absolutely shredded.
Yeah, he looks great.
And this guy here is not so much. Which, as we know in boxing, though, doesn't necessarily mean that he's a better or worse fighter, but...
Yeah, we've talked about this not ad nauseum. If you're the first time listening to the show, welcome to the Creed franchise. But we talked about how in the Rocky cinematic universe, it's kind of nice to see a boxer looking like a He-Man character. That's we kind of equate the actual chiseled physique as something of the physical danger. But they steer away from that even in the Creed films. We will get into some of his fighters that Adonis will fight. They're real life
Yeah.
boxers playing boxers in the movie who
They
don't have
don't
the
look super chiseled, yeah.
no, which
But it's I like that Adonis is chiseled in the sense that it like reminds you of Apollo, right?
yeah,
Like there's that connection because Carl Weathers was chiseled big time.
yeah. Carl was awesome.
So it's like kind of like father like son, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, they're looking at each other. They're definitely in the same room. So we got the scene here with him shadowboxing.
I guess he's alone now. Those guys must have left. Like maybe the other guy went in the ring first.
Yeah. And you already get a sense, well, obviously with the other scene that we talked about, but you already get the sense this is a different, though it's in the Rocky cinematic universe, this is totally a different type of film than the Rocky films, and both in style and film and atmosphere.
That said, though, this is very similar to the first Rocky in the sense that you basically start the film. I know the beginning of the film isn't this scene, but it's relatively close to the beginning. Is a fight in like a kind of a sketchy club fighty type of place.
Yeah.
And in both him and Rocky are totally alone. Like that guy who was Rocky's corner man wasn't his trainer or anything, right? Like Rocky was doing it himself. Adonis was doing it himself. Like there are parallels, but I know what you're saying too. Like the type of film this is very different.
Now
Rocky. Like the direction and just the way it looks and feels.
Now we know that Adonis is fighting in Tijuana. We know, but why? Is this just to hide from his mom? His stepmom or his foster mom?
It could be. I think as well. It might be easier to break into the boxing scene there than in the U.S. Like maybe it's just like there's fights like this all the time in Tijuana, so you can go down there and just kind of fight whoever. Like yeah, it could also be an escape because like he's less likely to be known or recognized in Tijuana than he would be in California, is my guess.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. Also, because like he does make the move later to want to fight in the States and try and get Tony's son on. So maybe he sees like Tijuana as kind of a safe space. Like you could screw up there because no one cares about it.
Well, I think he talks later into the film about his record. He kind of brings it up, and they're like, "Oh, those are Tijuana fights," and it didn't seem to. He brings it up to Tony's son about his.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, Tijuana, nah, that's barroom brawling."
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the guy he'll fight at the end, his trainer, he's like, I got you 15-0. Like no one needs to know it's like a hole in the wall in Tijuana.
Right.
But I think this is kind of a safe space for him to go try out boxing, experiment with it. And then I think he builds up the confidence after a while that, yeah, I can box in Tijuana. Now I'm going to start boxing in LA or wherever.
This is a scene that was in the trailer with him punching the wall. So this movie likes to do a lot of single shots, like long shots.
Yeah.
So he's walking up to the ring. We hear the kind of like a ceremonial or festive Mexican music.
Okay, speaking of the long shot, Ryan, please pause it for a sec. Do you know what I believe it was the first movie to do something like that was?
Don't tell me. Like, what do you mean?
Like the one long uncut shot?
Oh, I should know this.
I hope I'm not wrong on this. I'm
well,
sure this
if it's not one, maybe if it's not the first one, it's one of the first ones. Give me a hint, genre or.
It is a Scorsese film.
I knew it was gonna be Scorsese. Well, not Goodfellas.
Yeah, Goodfellas.
Was it? What was the scene again?
It's when he takes her to that to the Coca Cabana, and they like sneak through the back, like through the
Mm.
restaurant, and you're meandering through all these places, and then he finally gets sit down at the table.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's funny. I was thinking Scorsese too. Yeah, I knew it'd be somebody in those early. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
1990, that movie came out 30 years ago. Can
yeah,
you
that's
believe?
right. That is weird that Goodfellas is 30 years old.
Oh, we're just getting old. So this ring here, it's pretty makeshift, small little ring. It is a bar. This is a bar,
Yeah,
and the Mexicans are booing Adonis.
in Mexico has a huge boxing culture. Like boxing is big down in Mexico, and there's a lot of great fighters down there.
Well,
So,
it's cheap. Meaning, like it's inexpensive. Like hockey, for example.
oh yeah, yeah, oh totally,
Like
totally, yeah.
hockey, for example, as you know, freaking
See,
expensive.
yeah, I never played hockey because my parents could never afford to put me in
Same.
hockey.
You
All
have to
the
be rich.
equipment, yeah, yeah, it is incredibly expensive.
And this is not a racial thing, but it dawned on me some years ago. Like when I say racial, I mean there's no humor in this. I'm not trying to be, but we know that maybe this is the white privilege. But people say, well, there's no black people in hockey.
Oh yeah,
It's because of the money, and
yeah, yeah. It's not. It wasn't traditionally big in areas where there were a lot of black people.
because it's just
So
unfortunately it seems to be. That's why golf, they say, or hockey's a white man's sport, and
yeah,
there's a cultural reason for that because of
yeah. It's not because like
accessibility.
white people are inherently better at
No,
hockey.
oh no, black people are well, as we know, they're incredible athletes. Basketball, football, my gosh, I mean wrestling, boxing. I mean they have very their builds and strength is phenomenal. So hockey would benefit from all that, but it's just yeah, and yeah, I think it might be a cultural thing where it's just accessibility with a basketball and a hoop in a cement parking lot. It's a lot easier to go
Yeah,
to and shoot hoops than getting your hockey gear.
in Mexico might not be as well known for boxing for a lot of people because like the heavyweight division's kind of the division everyone watches.
Mm.
And Mexican boxers on average are kind of smaller, so they might be like light heavyweights or middleweights or something like that. But like there are a ton of excellent boxers in Mexico. So like yeah, it's not a bad place to start fighting.
And this guy that he is fighting, he's a pretty stacked.
Yeah, he looks a lot better in this shot than the other one. Like if I was Adonis, I'd be nervous fighting this guy.
Yeah, I'd be nervous anyways. So again, let's turn down a little bit. Again, they still have this single shot. It's still the same shot from him punching the wall and coming up to the rings. We'll see when we can catch the break.
Yeah, there's a couple uncut, long uncuts in this movie.
Still the same shot. The fight has begun. Very well done. It's still that single shot with the camera. The camera's following. It's almost like Apollo's ghost is following Adonis to the ring. Oh, there you go. There's the cut. Did you catch it?
Yeah, yeah, I did. Sorry, I was just so focused on watching that fight.
Yeah. So Adonis knocks down Pedro.
And then Adonis's tape is all screwed up, and he's like
No, he was
fixing
taking.
it with.
No, I think he was
Oh,
taking
he's
off his
taking it
glove.
off. Oh, okay, yeah.
It's
No, good call.
yeah, it's a sign that he knows he's got this guy. So it was a very quick fight. It shows that Adonis can fight. He takes that guy down pretty single-handedly. So the count was happening. He's already just like, oh, I got him. He's already taken off. It shows that bravado. So he's already taken off his gloves during the count.
Imagine if that guy got up. It's like, oh shit, I'm gonna put my glove back on.
And then it cuts to it's a very what do you want to call it? It brings
Pristine environment. Like you're at this dingy bar in Tijuana, and then all of a sudden you're in this like squeaky clean office back in America.
well, we have to assume it's probably L.A. That's where.
It'll say Los Angeles
Oh,
in
okay, my bad.
like 2 seconds. I'm pretty sure.
But I had to say because that's where Creed was based. That's where he lived his life was L.A.
Yeah, yeah.
So we see Adonis in a desk office job, and again, it shows like he's bored. He just fought the night before or a couple days ago at the very least, and he's doing a mundane. He's a fighter. Fighters fight. That's all. He's a warrior.
Yeah.
The warrior may as well be dead if he's got to sit in this desk job.
Yeah, and he's like not like right now is probably a super important job. Like he's working his way up, right? Like I wouldn't quite call this a cubicle farm, but like he doesn't have a lot of privacy in his office. Like he's not like a big executive or something, right?
Yeah, he can't sleep.
Probably
he can't sleep with the secretary here.
Oh, he can. He can. Just because he's
Right here, Los Angeles, California, 12 hours later. It's almost like we've talked about this, that Ryan Coogler, he must have heard our podcast before we did it.
He's like, let's get these times exactly right.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He gives us locations and times. There's no question of when the time jumps are. Like, it's exactly 12 hours later.
Thank you, Ryan Coogler.
Yes.
I appreciate it, buddy.
And that's all Stallone had to do for Rocky 5. All he had to do was say, Rocky comes off the plane, does the press conference, then they do the time card, Philadelphia, 5 years later. Then they lose their money. Then Sage Stallone can come on screen and make sense that he's older. I mean, in 1990, they already made movies like The Godfather and Indiana Jones. I don't understand why they didn't think to themselves, can we not explain the time jump? Oh, yeah, why don't we just do a 5 years later placard? Okay.
I think they honestly just didn't give a shit. They're just like, yeah, it's fine.
But it's so weird to me. I don't understand how you can create something and not just have it make sense. Anyways, what do I know? I just do a stupid podcast.
I agree. I totally agree.
So anyways, Ryan Coogler, being a young filmmaker in today's day and age, understands the explanations. And hey, just if you guys are confused, he was in Tijuana. 12 hours later, he's in Los Angeles. Makes sense. His hand's still sore from the fight, and here we go.
He probably had not slept at all.
No, he's tired.
Like the time it takes to get from Tijuana to LA and then to wind down and all that. He didn't sleep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he works in finance.
Oops, sorry.
So he works in finance just like me. So I understand the boredom of the desk job.
So he's about to walk into this office, and it looks like the boss or the manager. It's a nice, very corner office with a
nice, big windows, nice view. He's obviously the big cheese. He's running the show. So
he's about to have this. We'll play this conversation that's going to happen here. Let's play it. It speaks for itself.
He's going to ask for a raise. Just spoil it for everyone.
What you got there? You're joking, right? You get a promotion and you're quitting?
So that desk that he was sitting at was a recent promotion.
Well, no, it wasn't. I remember because Marianne was talking to him about it. Like, oh, have you got your new office? Have you got an office yet?
Oh.
You got an assistant yet? Like, I think he was like just given that promotion, and was probably got to move into the office.
This career just ain't for me.
What are you gonna do?
Hey, man, thanks for everything.
All right, so he just quit a well-to-do job, and the guy's like, what are you going to do? But then it shows him driving up to his house, which is worth, what, $10 million?
Oh, God, who knows? A lot. A lot. Like, it's just, that is a full-out mansion. That's not just, like, a nice house. Like, that thing's probably, like, 15,000 square feet or something like that, or more.
I gotta assume he's cut into the will.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
He's got two other siblings.
Yeah.
So Marianne,
I like the idea that he works though. Like he's not like it seems like Marianne treats her kids well, but like not too well. You know what I mean? Like
she tries she tries to give them a semblance of like normalcy amongst the richness, like stern talking tos and protection, and have a job. What are you doing with your? And I have to assume we don't ever hear about his other siblings. I think he has a brother and a sister.
Yeah, yeah, he does. They would be because like in the late 70s, they were like 10 or younger. So,
They're about 10
um,
years older than him. They're probably 40 plus. Might have their own
well,
families.
yeah. So they're probably well established, also in careers.
But good for him for working, and good for Marianne to make her children work. But there's a part of me. Look, I admit, if I had the money that Apollo has, anywhere from, we can assume he has anywhere from, let's say 50 million in assets.
Oh, it probably more. Like he probably breaks 100. Like,
Would you? Okay, here's my question then for you, because you're a parent. Let's say you have 100 million in liquid cash
yeah.
at your disposal, which is not a bad chunk of change. Okay, you can live a very comfortable, no stress life with that. Especially as you know, with the interest alone, you don't even almost have to touch your 100
Oh,
million.
you wouldn't
Yeah.
unless you lived
Right.
really
If
extravagantly.
you're
Yeah.
if you're so stupid, like if you're literally buying $5 million yachts 20 times a year, then
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Like no one's So the point is, responsible people like ourselves would understand that 100 million, though it would keep you comfortable, it doesn't solve everything. However, there's a part of me that I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd say the same to my kids. I'd be like, you know what? I'll give you guys each $5 million, and you buy you buy your home outright, and you can live off the interest. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, you don't have to work. Just enjoy life, vacation, spend time with your family.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, is life about work? Is it about being behind a desk? And I'm not saying don't explore your interests, art, write a book. I guess that's the, what do you want to call it, the romantic part of me about life is like, why spend your life just paying bills, or working to pay? Like, if you already have the money, you've eliminated the time that you have to work, so you can really just follow your passion, which might be traveling, exploring, just being out in nature, and then just never work a day in your life. I don't know. It'd be hard to tell my kids to go find a job.
Okay, so this is my opinion on it. It's a
Sure.
little nuanced. So, uh, I manage investments for a living,
Yeah.
and I see people that have large sums of money, like tens of millions in investments, sometimes some of them,
Right.
and they have kids. And honestly, if it depends on the kid, it depends on the kid. But like, and my mom works like in will and estate planning with trusts and stuff, and so she also deals with super wealthy people, and you hear all sorts of stories.
Sure. Yeah.
If you give someone a lot of money from a young age, you could very easily create a monster,
Yeah.
and you would be
Yeah.
surprised at how quick they would spend that.
Well, yeah.
Now it depends on the person, but I think I,
Yeah. Well,
I
I could
think like the
argue.
traveling and the like kind of living that is only good for so long. Like I think you need a bit of yin and yang in life where you need some toil
Well, you
and
could do the
opposition and some struggle in
volunteer,
order to actually enjoy
the
the other
volunteer
side of
part of
it.
work.
So
Yeah.
what's
Sorry, I
that?
didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was going to say, yeah, you could do like volunteer work, or stuff like that. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know. Like, to me, what I tell them just to go dig a ditch. I don't know. Look,
Well,
I've worked my whole life. I have been working since I was 10 years old. Honestly, I've had a paper route when I was 10 years old, and I have not stopped working since the age of 10.
and I
And
think making yourself though is important. Like I know, for example, a lot of like the super wealthy, like say Warren Buffett, for example,
right.
Bill Gates, people who like you really can't comprehend how much money they
No,
have.
it's
Like it's
ridiculous.
a number, it's absurd. They're giving almost nothing to their kids in inheritance. Um, I'm
Like,
sure they're getting something, but
blows
it's
my
like
mind.
they want their kids to make their own way in life, and
Sure.
I think there's something to that. And also it's like your kids become like really privileged in the sense, and it's kind of unfair to the rest of the people. Like there's
Yeah.
so many people who are more deserving or as deserving as your kids that don't have a shot. So I don't know, for me, I would probably give them opportunities, so give them some privilege, but they'd have to make their way to a point at least.
All right, that's fair. I don't want to belabor this too much. I hear you, but my only pushback on that is you and I are more, I'm using privilege in the sense of not skin color, but just the money that we have. We're more privileged than 2/3 of the world's population.
More, probably.
Yeah. So there's a part of me that I hear what you're saying, but using that same philosophy, I'm like, at what point do you stop? What point do you say, well, there's kids who don't have fresh drinking water, so my kids should every now and then just drink out of the toilet bowl? Because I'm just saying that's the reason. The reason gets to the point where yes, there are the people who have a really terrible life, like who will never have a comfortable bed to sleep in, will never experience a wooden floor to walk on. I know. So we are living in luxury compared to 2/3, if not more, of the world's population as it is. So I hear you. So I guess there's a part of me that's like, well, I could have that same philosophy just being a multimillionaire. I'd be like, yeah, there's people who don't have this life, but I do, and so be it. Or else you're just gonna live your whole life comparing that there's always somebody suffering, and then no one's enjoying life because somebody's suffering. It's philosophical discussion for maybe another day. I don't know.
Sure.
And I'm not a selfish person in that sense. Like, you know me, and I actually have a hard time thinking about suffering because it affects me. But it's just, we're really going off the beaten path, but that's okay. That's okay.
Well, you can edit most of this out.
No, forget it. If people want it. It took 5 minutes. But anyways, okay.
Well, we'll say getting back to the film though.
Yeah.
I doubt Adonis on his salary so far would have been able to afford that vehicle he's driving.
That's his dad's. That's his dad's.
How do you know that?
I think that was that was donated to him. If it's this one, it's what I know. He gets a car donated to him by his dad.
Really?
Yeah.
In this film?
If it's not this one, it's Creed 2, because I just saw Creed 2 at Christmas time.
I remember he was trying to get this car back. But anyways,
I think because it's
regardless
his dad's.
of whether his mom purchased it or he got it from his dad, he's getting something, right? Like, he lives well. He lives above his means of what he earns at his current job.
Well, he lives at this house.
Well, aside from the house, though.
Right.
Like, his clothes he has, the vehicle he has, like, all the electronics and stuff. He's probably making, like, $40K a year or something at that job. Like, you're not going to buy all that on his salary, so... Marie is obviously is it Marie? Not Marie, sorry, Marianne. Yeah. She's obviously letting him enjoy the high life to some point, but also making him work. So it looks like she's found some sort of balance with him.
What do you think the gate code was that he used to get in? Creed?
I don't know.
Yeah, look at this
those
house.
Numbers
look at this house.
They almost add up to 20.
Oh, so here's a shot of Marianne, Mrs. Huxtable. She's about to, she's serving up soup or stew of some sort for Adonis.
Yeah, it looks like stew.
Well, what's it like? This is a big deal, this promotion. Did they hire your assistant? Very proud of you.
Very awkward conversation right away. He's like, well, poor Marianne. She's lost so much because of the stupid boxing.
I know. Yeah, and of course, like, she's living off the proceeds of someone else's career too, right? Like, to be fair to her, not to be fair, like, Apollo earned all this money, and then she got it all, and now she just kind of does whatever. But
yeah, I think Marianne
she also had to be a widow for that.
Marianne, though, was never like Adrian. I think Marianne was always fine with Apollo fighting because he was the best. And she never really worried about... The only time we ever saw Marianne, at least on film, worry about the fight was, of course, the Drago fight. Stop the fight!
Yeah. And even, like, that was only until Apollo was, like, beaten to a pulp. Like, after that first round, she was still kind of like... Yeah. Apollo gives her the thumbs up, right? She was like, no, Apollo, don't do it. Don't do it.
Whereas Adrian could never watch Rocky until the Rocky 3 montage at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she knew that those fighters were handpicked.
Yeah.
Nah, they weren't handpicked. They just want fighters like this guy. Let's go and knock it tomorrow, Rock. All right.
Yeah, plus like Apollo doesn't seem like the guy that like has to have his wife behind him in order to like fight. Like, I'm pretty sure he could just take it or leave it. Like he knows what he wants to do.
No, in fact, he never had. The fact there was times he had a different wife in front of him.
Yeah, exactly. Wonder if she was at the fight too.
Oh, jeez, I did that again. Sorry, I keep hitting the. I'm hitting the pause buttons right next to the reverse button. So I've. Say that part again.
I said, I wonder if the girlfriend was at the Apollo or the Drago fight too.
Well, I think it was one of the dance girls.
You think so?
Yeah.
That could be. Yeah.
This is interesting. So we see him in the man cave. He's turning on some YouTube, which is kind of cool because this is what you would do. You would go look for fights on YouTube. So it was kind of.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. That
I wonder if he's looked
watching
up the
fights.
fight of his dad getting beaten to death by Ivan Drago.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure I've seen it.
Imagine watching that. Your dad getting beaten to death by some other guy.
Wow. Well, no, we
like,
know he's seen
it's
it.
different because like we know our dads and he
Right.
never did, but still, like it's fucked up.
Yeah, the footage is definitely out there. And of course, he would have seen it, and that's what makes Creed 2 so powerful because he's looking at the person that killed your father.
Yeah. But in this case, he's watching the footage of his dad absolutely mangle Rocky. So
So look at the titles here. We've got Timothy Bradley versus Juan Manuel Marquez. So these are some real fights here, of course. But I love how this one here it's actually titled Super Fight 2: Apollo Creed versus Rocky Balboa. It has
look at the views.
Yeah, 1 million.
Compared to the views for these other fights too, right?
Oh, it's Super Fight 2. Yeah.
I'm surprised it has that few views. Like, if you'll indulge me for a second, I'm just gonna look up some like super well-known fights and see how many views they have on YouTube.
Sure. Oh, I could do it here. So, or
Okay, yeah.
Patreon.
So I say like Ali versus Foreman. Okay, George Foreman versus Muhammad Ali, the Rumble in the Jungle, 48 million views.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so this would have been one of the most famous fights ever because Apollo got upset by essentially a nobody, even though that was the second fight.
You could argue the filmmakers could have given this a few more views to make it more, yeah.
Yeah, like add another 0 to that, or another 0 after that.
But I bet you if they did, people would say, "No, let's look at them touting their own horn that they've got 10 million views on YouTube." Who knows? Or you could also argue that there's more than one of these videos, and it dilutes the viewing. Yeah.
But it's HBO Boxing though. That'd probably be like first on the search.
Or you could argue that HBO Boxing didn't get rights to this clip until maybe a year ago or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's like a championship fight where both guys fall down at the end.
Right.
And they both race to get up and there's 1 second left. People would be watching that a lot.
Yeah. All right, so he's going to, of course, watch this. What I love about this, if I remember correctly, we're going to see, he's going to watch the YouTube video of this fight. But, of course, the fight that he's watching is the same film footage that we as a viewer saw. And no fight is filmed this way.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
that's true.
Cinematic type fight. And that's what makes Rocky Balboa, Rocky Part 6, really cool, is because they try to film the fight like you would watch it as a pay-per-view.
I think we kind of glossed over that point when we reviewed Rocky Balboa. I don't remember us talking about that, but you're totally right.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it. Maybe it's so obvious that we don't have to. I think but you're right. We didn't really hammer that home. But so let us retcon that season by saying yes, the Rocky 6 Balboa fight was intentionally filmed to make it look like you're watching a pay-per-view fight. And I think we did talk about that, but maybe we didn't. I don't know.
And so you'll probably edit this part out, but like I'm sure he watches porn on this thing too because that screen is huge.
Yeah, imagine if his search history came up. He's like, okay.
Yeah, there's the history there. Now it's YouTube history, but still.
Oh, it does say here the video was published November 22nd, 2006.
Yeah.
Oh, you know,
then when does this film come out though? 2012.
this film was 2015. So this is
2015,
9 years. Yeah. That's a really bad. Yeah, they should have upped that numbers. That means very few people have watched this fight.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
When was Rocky Balboa released? It sounds like it's very close to that date. I wonder if that's a little
very close. I would have been, I think, summer of 2006.
Close. So this was published on YouTube November 22nd, 2006. Rocky Balboa came out December 20th, 2006.
Oh, December. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's watch the fight that he's watching that we saw as viewers of Rocky 2.
Super Fight 2. Rocky Balboa, the challenger, and of course Apollo Creed, the world champion.
Well, there's the bell. Comes over to hurry now. He throws a couple of rights and lefts out there. He starts to take command early here, and now he kind of motions feet. Come over to the center of the ring. A good right hand and throw with another right and another right. Throw with the feet.
Well, they made a conscious effort not to show much of the fight, maybe for the reason that we're talking about. We saw a couple scenes there that could have made sense had you watched it at home.
Yeah, also they're skipping huge chunks of time.
Right.
So it's like it'd be weird. Which they also did in Rocky 4 when Rocky and Apollo are watching the fight. Like this beginning of their conversation is the beginning of the fight. And then like later in their conversation, it's near the end of the fight. But like that's a 45-minute fight. Plus, well, way longer than 45 minutes because it's like the rounds themselves add up to 45 minutes plus breaks and everything else. So,
and now Adonis is going to step in front of the screen and essentially, which I find this interesting, he fights his father.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, watch. He's actually now, I think it's intentional, of course, but he kind of places himself where Rocky is, and he's actually punching his dad in this shadow boxing moment in front of the screen.
He's going for the knockout. Just holding out right hand. He's just waiting for that precise moment that he wants. There it is. He got all of that, but here comes Balboa. Into that corner, and there's left and right. Here comes Balboa coming back out. A punch to the right to the head. But now it is Creed coming back. Creed with a left hand. And now right off the ropes. Balboa appears to be getting hit often.
Okay, I want to stop here for a second.
Yeah, of course.
I read this, so it's not just off the top of my head. Someone else commented on this before, but like Adonis's style of fighting is like kind of a hybrid between Apollo's style and Rocky's style. Like Apollo is like a very quick fighter, clean fighter, goes for the head pretty much exclusively, like the Muhammad Ali type of fighter, where Rocky gets down there and goes for the body. Is like a bit of a brawler, and like Adonis is kind of in between the two, maybe even closer to Rocky than Apollo. But it's like he kind of has almost these two idols or mentors or whatever that he wants to emulate. Like it's not quite his dad, but it's not quite Rocky. I don't know.
All right, so now he's no, it's good. Sorry, I like that. That's a good analysis, and I think I agree with that. So he's outside his car in a parking lot. He's outside the gym where Tony Jr. is training fighters. It's the Apollo gym, I think. I forget what it's called.
The Delphi gym.
Thank you. And he's putting tape on his hand. So in his mind right now, he is going to go into this boxing thing for real. This is what he wants to do. He wants to be a boxer. That's right. Delphi Boxing Academy, home of Apollo Creed.
I think I talked about this in another episode. Back when we did Rocky 3. Remember when they go to Tough Gym?
Yeah.
Which is like that basement, terrible gym.
Yeah.
And Apollo's like, this is where I started.
Yep.
This is where you're going to start. But then it's like, this place is saying it's home of Apollo Creed. So maybe Apollo started at that other gym, but then like eventually came to this new gym. But then he has palatial gym in Rocky 2. It was like his house or something. I don't know.
So it
It's
says
kind of a
here.
weird potential continuity error.
Well, Delphi Boxing Academy is a boxing gym that operates in LA. Delphi was founded by Tony Duke Evers when he retired from boxing in '68. Duke trained the legendary Apollo Creed at the gym for many years. So I think Apollo started at Tough Gym before he joined with Duke.
Okay, then what's Duke doing at Tough Gym?
I think he's just.
Because he was there like training other guys. It seemed like he was like busy working with other people before Rocky and Apollo got there. Like maybe he was just had something to do until they showed up. But
I think
it
he
seemed
might
like
have
that's where Tony went back to. Like that's
Yeah.
what they kind of imply.
Yeah. It says here that Duke stepped away from the gym and handed it to his son, who were about to meet Tony Little Duke Evers. Delphi Boxing Academy is the home to a man that is in the discussion in the franchise, of course, with the greatest of all time, Apollo Creed. Creed was trained at Delphi for his entire career from the late 60s until his death in 85. Creed was trained by founder and owner Tony Duke Evers. So there is a little bit of... Now, this is from Rocky Wiki, which they're pretty good about a lot of their stuff. Now, either Rocky Wiki, of course, is wrong, which it has to be.
Sounds like they are.
But but to be fair, it also says that he was trained. Now, if you get the wording here, Creed was trained at Delphi for his entire career. He could have still been an amateur or non-licensed boxer and he still could have started at Tough Gym when he decided to be a boxer before he started. So when it came to his career, because he was taken from the streets by Tony.
Yeah.
So I could argue to keep the canon fair. He was discovered by Tony, who was owner operator of Delphi Boxing, while Apollo was a young upstarter starting a Tough Gym. There you go, done.
It's technically possible, but sounds pretty fishy to me.
Anyways, here we are. We're Delphi Boxing Academy, home of Apollo Creed.
Take it to him. Take it to the box.
So the guy that you hear speaking now, ladies and gentlemen, is Tony Duke's son, Little Duke.
There you go. Make your time count, baby. You know what's coming up. There you go.
Check out.
Now, I admit, when I first saw this film, I was confused. I thought, were they brothers?
They seem like it.
Yeah.
I think there's like some kind of reference to it too. I'm paying attention carefully now while we're reviewing this to see like what led me to think that.
I think we're just led to believe that Tony and Apollo, they were like family, literally. And so these guys were just around their whole life growing up as kids. We talked about
Tony was still hanging around Marianne.
We talked about
guess.
this.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So my bad. I forgot. We literally talked about this on our first episode of Creed. That Marianne would have had to continue to have. Maybe she had a romantic relationship with Tony.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Yes, Tony was a player, man. He was a handsome man. Handsome man.
No, he respected Apollo too much to dip his pen in the ink there. If you know what I mean.
No, you know what he did? You remember the scene in Rocky 5, the one little scene that Tony has when he's like, "You did good out there, Rocky," and he held up the shorts. You did for Apollo. He probably did the same thing to Adrian. He did the same thing to Marianne. He grabbed Apollo's shorts. He's like, Tony took off his underwear, and he's like, "Marianne, for Apollo," and he held up the shorts.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what happened.
Oh, I'm getting punchy as we near midnight on my recording. Okay, so let's listen to the conversation here. That
I could hear. Okay, this is fucked up, but imagine if he said that like mid-orgasm, like for Apollo. She's just like, what the fuck?
I'm glad my mom.
I'm
glad my mom doesn't listen. My mom does not listen to Patreon, so we can be a little bit more.
Well, look, your mom knows how sex works. I'm positive because there's so many of you guys.
Oh man. Okay, so Here we go. Here's the conversation between Little Duke and Adonis. Yeah, so we know from this upcoming conversation that we're about to listen to that, yes, there was a history, that they had a history in their youth. Absolutely. They had to have had a history.
What you doing here, man?
15-0, 15 knockouts.
In Tijuana? Nah, bruh. That's barroom brawling.
So there you go. There's the barroom brawling talk. 15 knockouts to 1. It's kind of weird for him to be so dismissive about it. I mean, 15 wins is 15 wins. Does he just assume Mexicans are weak?
Well, I think maybe because it's like
not a
you might
sanctioned.
know that like the boxing scene, it's like club fighting, right? It's so different than the clubs Rocky was fighting in Philly.
Yeah, you could argue
it's
maybe
not
the training.
like sophisticated boxing. It's like low level like anyone could fight there. It's just a free for all.
Yeah, the opponent we saw did go down pretty easily, so yeah.
Yeah, it's low level boxing. He's like, look, he fought a bunch of bums down there. Like, it doesn't mean like don't get cocky, but he is a dick to him, right?
Yeah.
Like he does. There's like some hostility there, so maybe they didn't get along that well.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well,
he seems like quite a bit older than Adonis too.
He would be. Tony was older than Creed by 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, like the real life guy, I believe, was born in like 38 or something like that. In Weathers, I think, was born in like 46.
Right.
So yeah, about 10 years. Yeah.
This also mirrors Rocky, the first Rocky, when Rocky says to Mickey, "You think everyone I fight is a bum?" Well, ain't they? Right.
Yeah, exactly. And he's kind of hostile, just like Mickey was to Rocky.
Yeah.
Although, unlike Mickey, this guy probably doesn't think Adonis has talent.
No.
Well, he's wrong. He's wrong. Adonis obviously does have talent, but.
Yeah, well, I'm all in anyway. So I figured we start out local just to get our momentum going, and we can move wherever we want to move.
So right now he's already plugging himself. He's like, well, I'm going all in. No more hiding in Tijuana. I've quit my job, and I want you to be my manager. He's selling himself right now. He's saying to this guy, look, we can start local and we start moving up the ladder.
It's that presumptiveness, is that a word? That's presumption that little Tony here was Tony Jr. I don't know what his name is. Little Duke is got to be along with it. He's not asking. He's saying, I figure we could do this, then we can do that. Like, he's kind of just saying it. Like, he's very, like, just kind of like, he's so confident that little Duke will go along with this. Like, he has his dad's, like, hubris and arrogance that he'll just be like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start local. We're going to kick some ass, and we'll eventually become a champion. Done. And then I could see why little Duke's just kind of like, what do you mean we? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I obviously have a career. Oh, shit. I've been talking to myself. No, you are. Never mind. I thought you were frozen. No. Sorry.
I'm just reading about while you're talking. I am listening, but I'm just getting my background on Wheeler.
No, it's cool. Like, he has a full-time job.
You're right.
Like, he's doing stuff, and then it's like Adonis is just like, well, this is what we're going to do. Yeah. You're going to drop everything, and you're going to train with me. Well, I haven't even thought about the fact that you're...
Well, that's what I mean. On the back of Little Duke's shirt is Team Wheeler. So he's already managing and training Wheeler, who has dominated the entire heavyweight division, generating a record of 31-0, which we'll see with 18 knockouts, along with winning the WBA, WBC. So Wheeler was considered the second best pound-for-pound boxer in the entire world, behind pretty Ricky Conlon. So
yeah, I forgot this is like the day and age now where there's like 10 championships. Not really, but it's like you have multiple champions at the same time in boxing. Because there's so many sanctioning bodies. Like before, it was like maybe one or two. Now it's like, well, I have the WCBC, but I have the IBF, but I have the WBA. And I'm like, all right. But,
all right,
yeah. So I guess they're getting ready for a unifying bout.
Yeah, I was figuring you mean...
These boys come in here, this is how they survive. They got to fight for life. Kill or be killed, people die in there. Your daddy died in the ring. This ain't no joke.
That's a little bit of fan service for him to say your daddy died in the ring. They're spelling it out for people that aren't familiar with the Rocky films, because there are a lot of people who saw the Creed films in the theater who have never seen the Rocky films. So this is a little bit
a lot
of
of spouses, a lot of girlfriends, a lot basically.
So yeah, well, no, and there's a lot of first time quote unquote Rocky Cinematic Universe viewers, and who have never seen the Rocky films, who are seeing Creed. So they're spelling out saying, yeah, just so you guys remember everyone, this is the guy who lost his dad in the ring. Keep that in mind. So
it's good.
Yeah.
Good writing. So
ain't got nothing to do with me.
Alrighty, he's like, oh, that got nothing to do with me. You know, him dying in the ring has nothing to do with me.
Oh, okay. You real tough now.
Yup.
Nah, I ain't training you. You know I ain't training. Ain't nobody training you. I'm gonna make sure about that.
Now, why is he so intent that nobody would train him?
Yeah, I think that was bad. I think little Duke's out of line there. I can understand why he wouldn't train him. Like, I would say no too. I'd be like, I already have a job, and then like I have the second best fighter in this division, so you can piss off. But it's like, if you want to go box, go ahead. But like, he seems to have this thing where it's like, look, and Rocky kind of has the same attitude with him. Like, look, you have a bright future. You don't need to be doing this. Like, the guys who come in here, that's their only option, because like, they can't go to college. They can't do this. They can't do that. Prize fighting is the only way they can do it. And they're almost, as Rocky would have said, guaranteed to end up a bum anyways. What the hell are you doing going here? Like, you don't belong here.
Yeah, something must have happened in their past where there's some real animosity here.
Yeah, that too. I don't know. But Adonis doesn't seem to think so. He seems to think this guy's going to be cool with it. So I don't know what the disconnect is.
It is weird because this dude is probably the guy, Adonis. He probably will inherit this gym. I would assume. Isn't this gym? Isn't Adonis's?
No, because Tony owns the gym.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Oh, brain fart. We just read that out. Yes, of course. This is his gym. My bad. It's home to Apollo Creed, but it's right. It's the Duke gym. My bad.
I would say this guy's animosity is kind of like in poor taste for the writing.
Yes, it's not really well explained. It should have been written a little bit better, because, spoiler alert, he trains him in Creed 2. So
yeah.
Or manages him.
He seems to care about him, right?
Yeah.
He seems to care for his well-being, but then not like him, which would make sense if something happened between them. It's kind of like if you had a brother that you didn't like because you don't get along, but you still love them because they're your brother, so you don't want to see something bad happen to them.
Right.
But you're kind of, so you say like, look, get your act together, quit being stupid, yada, yada, yada. Fine. But then it's like, if you really didn't care, like if this guy really had that animosity and you don't explain why, like the more logical response would be, look, just go to some other gym. Good luck with your stupid fighting career. Like, I don't care.
We making champs in the Delphi gym. We not dancing. We not singing. We fighting. You struggle every day. You fought for something. You damn right.
So he's yelling at his fighters in the ring, of course, next to Adonis. But he's kind of yelling at Adonis, telling him, this is our mantra in this ring. We're all fighters. We come from poor backgrounds. I mean, that's the struggle. Their struggle is real. It's in the streets. He's kind of throwing at Adonis that he's a privileged.
Well, maybe that's the root of why he doesn't like him. Because it's like Apollo's kids growing up would have had everything, money-wise.
Sure.
All the luxuries of life, where it's like, Tony's kids wouldn't. Like, I'm sure Tony got paid decently, but it's like not that decently. This guy's kind of rough looking. Like, he kind of has like fucked up teeth and like, I don't know, like the way he talks and stuff. Like, he doesn't seem like he had the same background as any of Apollo's kids.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like he grew up seeing Apollo's kids as like silver spoon privileged kids. They don't know what it's really like out there. And now you're walking into our neighborhood and trying to take from us, trying to get my training, my knowledge. And you already have so much. Like, get the hell out of here. You don't belong here.
This is, and I have to not that I have to speak carefully, but I only know what I know about black culture from the movies and TV. I don't know very much about. I just don't because I never lived
Victoria
there.
does not have a ton of black people.
Well, it's just like I don't know much about Australian culture. It's just because I'm not around it. That's all it is. It's,
yeah,
it's kinda,
same here.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, I only know the culture that I'm around. I don't know Tongan culture. I don't know Japanese culture. So
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
Okay, I just want to make that clear. So regarding this, though, I know it goes everywhere, but I know within the black culture, there is even animosity and resentment within their own.
oh, for sure.
So
Like the term Uncle Tom, right?
yeah, that's the term. I don't know if that was proper to say that, but so the idea is that even though they share the same skin color, they do not share the same struggles, and there is a real animosity here that it's like, you know, you might be black, and you also might be the son of a great champion, but you don't come from the same struggles that we have. That's the fight that he's talking about. That you can just waltz in here and yeah.
Yeah, you don't try and become one of us when you're not. Yeah, that's like Ali and Frazier. Ali accused Frazier of being an Uncle Tom all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
And he was like a puppet of the white man and stuff. So yeah,
it's almost like they can't win. It's real interesting psychology amongst black people that if you kind of get out of the, how should I say this, like the struggles that some of these people are facing, then you're in trouble for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that like that. It seems that way, but there's probably a lot more to it than that.
Oh, I
Maybe
know.
It's how you got out or something.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know.
Whereas with white people, so I can speak to us, we'd say, yeah, you're just white trash. You're just...
Yeah.
And then if you have money, you're just like, oh man, you're lucky.
Exactly.
You lucky bastard. So I don't know why that is, but yeah, if I had a rich friend, I'd be like, man, I'd just be jealous. Maybe there is jealousy here, but I don't know if I'd hate the guy. I would just like, hey, can I come to your house and have a sleepover? Watch movies on your big screen TV with your laser disc player. But anyways, yeah. Interesting. Well, that's what's happened here. Is definitely some animosity with the class struggle. It's not the same.
Hey, listen up.
Adonis.
These the keys to my Mustang right here.
Adonis, get out the ring.
All you gotta do is land one clean headshot.
What I gotta put up for?
All right, so Adonis has entered the ring. Little Duke's telling him to get out of the ring. It is kind of rude just to step in the middle of their sparring match. And Adonis basically says, hey, I've got the keys to my Stang outside, and if you can land one clean headshot, you get the car.
That is insane.
Yeah.
I love how they post this guy's information here too. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really like I like that kind of creativity there. He's 12-1-0, 10 wins by knockout, 2010 California Golden Glove champion, number 6 light heavyweight in the world. A guy who's just fought in Tijuana says, I will give you my car if you manage to land one clean shot on me.
Yeah.
Like, the arrogance of that is just unbelievable. I love it.
Put up your hands. You a pro, right?
No. You can get the shit knocked out of you. You ain't got to prove nothing to me.
See, they had to tape him up in the parking lot or the scene wouldn't have worked either.
Right.
Because he was just ready to jump in the ring. All he had to do was put his gloves on.
Yeah, so he already had he was already taped up, ready to go. Yeah. Put his mouth guard in.
Oh, my God. At least put on your headgear.
No headgear? On you.
So Adonis is not even wearing headgear. So the fight begins. Buddy throws a right jab. Adonis ducks it.
Kill it, all right? Yeah, kill it, all right, little dude.
So he lays this guy out pretty good. It's like, okay, he took out a level, you know.
Yeah, that's super impressive. That's got to raise some eyebrows.
Yeah, even Little Duke's kind of like, okay, all right, you got him. And of course, Adonis, and this is his character. We know this. He's very pompous at the beginning of these films. That's the idea. This is what makes him not as likable as Rocky. You look at the,
yeah,
you can't help but compare a little bit. So you got a very, pompous, arrogant, and angry individual in the ring, where Rocky was more of you should have seen me fight last night. I did pretty good. Like
Rocky's anger was suppressed. Like it came out in a rage at Mickey in the apartment.
Right.
But otherwise he kept it inside. And Rocky had that tendency, like for example, he was like, hey, when I said those things didn't bother me?
Didn't bother me none?
Well, they did. Oh yeah, didn't bother me none? Well, they did.
Well, they did.
Like where Adonis isn't like that at all.
He definitely wears his emotions on his sleeve.
His dad.
He wears you know how he's feeling.
I don't like the fact that he knocked that guy out like that though, because it's unbelievable given that guy's prowess. And as we'll see in Adonis's next fight, he's not that good of a fighter yet.
No.
He gets knocked around pretty good. So.
Now, you see what he's wearing around his neck?
Huh? Yes. Where did he get that?
It's Apollo's cufflink.
How did Apollo get the cufflink? Is it just like the greatest coincidence in the world?
We talked about
that
this.
guy. I know that, and I was incredulous then, and I'm just as incredulous now. Where a guy happens to give Apollo the cufflink and Mickey the cufflink, or Paul, someone gave it to some guy who then gave it to Apollo. Like what?
Rocky Marciano gave one of his 2 cufflinks to Mickey. This is the greatest possession I have. This is the greatest possession I have in my life, and I'm giving it to you. Cue the swell of the music. Okay, so Rocky gets that cufflink, and the Rocky's like, "Well, who did Rocky Marciano give the other cufflink to?" I did some bum.
Yeah, who
was Apollo?
Then gave it to Apollo. Well, it wouldn't have been a bum back then, though. It's like
I think that's the joke. It's Mickey.
Yeah, you think though?
It's one of two.
There'd be no Apollo back then. Like Rocky Marciano.
We talked about this.
In like the 50s.
Yeah, but we talked about he lived to 60 something. That he would have been able to give the cufflink to Tony Duke at the gym at Delphi Gym during the training years when Apollo was actually a fighter and or if he wasn't a champion, he was in the up and coming. That Rocky Marciano lived into the late 60s, I believe.
Okay, you might as well say Rocky Marciano decided to throw it into the crowd and Apollo randomly caught it. Like that is just as probable.
Or he gave it to Tony Duke.
Because like they don't know each other. Like
all we know is that Apollo was wearing this cufflink, it's the matching Marciano cufflink, and now Adonis is wearing it.
If you want to get deep in the analysis here, so Apollo is Muhammad Ali, essentially.
Yeah, I know you like doing that.
He's a fictional character,
yes.
But he's basically a Muhammad Ali. Rocky Marciano is in fact a real person, and Marciano did not like Ali.
I know. So now you're getting to the Rocky. What bugs me about the Rocky franchise, and this is what's frustrating, is that they integrate real life characters, like real life people. When we say real life people in our universe exist, so we know that Rocky Marciano exists in this universe. We know that Mike Tyson exists, Fraser exists, and so it's like,
and also Foreman, who is really Clubber Lang, made a comeback.
Yeah, Foreman is mentioned. Yes, but so Foreman is not Clubber Lang because Foreman and Clubber Lang exist in the same universe. I'm just saying but so far
I know.
Ali though has not been mentioned. But Foreman fought Ali in our life, so we have to assume that Ali does exist in this universe.
But Foreman's heyday was in the same time Rocky and Apollo and Clubber were all around, and so he would have been a contender back then. Foreman cannot exist in the Rocky universe.
He was mentioned.
It's a continuity error then. He cannot exist in the Rocky universe because you could not miss him in all those films. He was that devastating. He was basically Clubber Lang. Like
they mentioned him. They All right. So he's knocked down. I hear you. But we'll wrap it up after he loses the Mustang. Spoiler alert. Okay.
You miss a meal?
Oh wait, let's go back. So Adonis is feeling pretty good about this 3-second fight. And now he's tripping back a little Duke. Like, did you ever miss a meal?
Which is an interesting point because Adonis, as much as he's a silver spoon guy, didn't grow up that way. Lived his first 10 years of life.
10 to 12 years, yeah.
Yeah, 10 to 12 years. he, by any stretch of the imagination, would have had it worse than Little Duke.
We could assume he was abused, maybe even sexually abused, quite frankly, in the system. You never know.
But like, yeah, like when this guy talks about like, yeah, probably sexually abused or something. When this guy talks about people fighting for life, that was Adonis prior to being adopted by Marianne.
Yeah. All right, so let's listen to. So he knocks this guy out, and now we're gonna listen to his kind of chirping back at Little Duke.
Kill her, right? Yeah, kill her, right, little dude? Where was you at when I was in group homes, huh? You miss a meal? Nah. Which one of your killers in here next? You pick them. You pick who's next. I'm next.
I love the look on his face when he sees Wheeler there. He's just like,
yeah. So now the champion kind of walks in. Wheeler, pound for pound, second best in the division. Here we go. And of course the music changes, and yeah, Adonis kind of climbs up a little bit. So it says here, Danny Wheeler, nicknamed Stuntman, 31-0, 18 wins. WBA, WBC Ring Magazine champion, number 2 pound for pound boxer in the world. In the world.
yeah. It's weird that the best pound for pound boxers in the world are in the same division. That's kind of odd. But
for filming purposes, yeah.
Yeah. But he's like a world-class fighter. Now, you could argue the other guy was a lower world-class fighter, but still a world-class fighter. Because he was 6th at light heavyweight, which is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
But this guy is another level, and he will for sure land a clean headshot on you.
Yes.
Obviously much worse, but it's just like, yeah, that's, but what are you going to do if you're Adonis? What are you going to do? You're going to be like, never mind, I'm good. You should do. But
what I would say is, look, the car was just for the first fight.
Yeah, but then you look like a little bitch if you do stuff like that.
I know.
Like you get.
Yeah, I just need one round, bro.
You want to warm up?
I don't need no warm up. Get my stuff.
And now he's wearing the headgear.
Yeah, and the body protection too.
Yeah. I think Little Duke even says something about it.
Which is, I don't know if he should have done that. Like, it's a good idea because he's got to get fucked up, and I think on some level he knows that. But right there, he's showing fear by putting that on.
Sure.
Given that he didn't have it on before, so it's like a sign of weakness. But then it's also very prudent to have that. So I don't know. Could be a sign of respect too. Depends how you look at it.
Then over his left shoulder, we have Apollo Creed looking down, not very happy about this. The picture there.
He's like, son, you have the worst technique ever. I would be embarrassed that you're my son boxing. I would have trained you from like a childhood to fight. Or maybe he would have been like, be a doctor, be a lawyer, carry a leather briefcase.
He was carrying a leather briefcase and he quit that job.
Yeah. So his dad would probably be pretty upset with him.
So Adonis is trying to, so even Adonis is trying to show him a little respect. He puts his hand out to touch gloves, and Wheeler's like, no. So Wheeler is out for blood himself right now. He's angry.
Well, yeah, because like this guy just walked into the gym he trains. He lipped off his trainer. He punched out probably a guy he's friends with.
Sure.
I'm going to guess that guy. He's like, they train at the same gym, so they probably get along. Maybe they spar together. This guy's coming in like an asshole. Just like wanting to fight people and yelling at everyone. So yeah, if I'm Wheeler, I'd probably do the same thing. I'd put this guy in his place.
So Adonis shows a little bit of skill here, dodges a few jabs.
Yeah, he lands a couple shots, except Wheeler could eat those ones, no problem.
Yeah, he did. So what you just heard there, folks, is Wheeler got a good, what do you call it, jab or hook to the face?
Well, I think that was a straight right hand. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'll have to rewind it, but that was a power shot, whatever it was.
Yeah, it rattled his bone. He just lost the Mustang right there, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And he's like the music and everything makes it seem like he is now disorientated. I don't know, like I have rarely been hit in the head really hard. But it is weird when you get hit super hard and how like you kind of lose reality for a second.
Sure. We got another left to the head, so he's
got
out.
a hard body shot followed by a shot to the head.
So Adonis is already like, oh, I've already lost the car, and
Now you're fighting for like your dignity and like your physical safety.
yeah, which he's not.
Because like
he's
you
not
just
doing a very good job.
realize, yeah, like he knows he's bit off more than he can chew, big time. So it's like, okay, I got to get out of this without completely looking like a total, I don't know, bum, I guess, or whatever. I can't think of a good word for that, but yeah, not a good situation.
I told y'all he wasn't ready. I told you.
So this guy in the corner, he already had Adonis's keys. He grabbed the keys very quickly from the knockout punch there and tossed them
Yeah,
to
that
Wheeler.
guy, I guess, is the escrow. When you put things in escrow, and he fairly divided, put the asset to its rightful owner. Now, sorry if this is boring. You may edit this out.
No.
But I always like wondered what happened here because like changing ownership of a vehicle takes a little more than just switching the keys, and I wonder if if he followed through and got it registered to Wheeler, or if Wheeler just drove this guy's car around and maybe
That's
there's
true.
some like photo radars or something like that.
That's kind of true. It's like it was
legally a bunch of places.
It's kind of like an awkward conversation. Like, so do I meet you for the paperwork at tomorrow at noon, or?
Look, Wheeler, I have this bill of sale here. You have to give $1 because, like, for contracted work, there has to be consideration on both sides. So, like, if you have that $1, that'd be nice.
Right.
Maybe we'll go through Little Duke for that.
Yeah, probably.
I try to tell you something, bro. You don't want to listen. You don't want to listen. You gotta learn things the hard way, huh?
Okay, I think I know where I thought. Okay. I was not very astute when I first watched this. He called him bro, and that's what made me think that they were brothers. But of course, guys call each other bros.
Yeah.
When they're not actual brothers. So I don't know. Maybe he just kind of had that brotherly vibe. Like you always have to learn things the hard way. Like that's something like an older brother would tell you.
I admit right now, when I saw this in the theaters, I did not know that was Little Duke's son watching that scene.
Yeah, and you hear him say Little Duke, but it's like very quick, and like I only heard it because I knew to listen for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would right over my head.
Agreed.
Agreed. Wow, that's a nice house.
Yeah, look at that shot. Jeez. All right, so we'll end it there. I think it's a good spot to end it.
Agreed.
All right. Or no, yeah. Do you want to stop? Maybe.
Yeah, because like this conversation with Marianne is going to be a big discussion.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, there you go. Thanks everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I'm enjoying. Yes, just for the record, if anyone's wondering, Ryan is enjoying the coverage of Creed. Look, it's a great film. I've never said it's not a good film. I've just the Creed character, and we've already seen why. Maybe that's why that first impression of him as a character is, yeah, we see him that arrogant, and because he's the title character in a Rocky Cinematic Universe film, it's hard for me to get behind it. Look, I'll tell you something. One of my least favorite Avengers is Iron Man.
Okay, yeah.
Like, and one of my favorite characters is actually Captain America. I admit, I like the schoolboy, nice. I like just my personality relates to that type of personality better. I don't like the arrogant billionaire personality. Now, we all think Iron Man's cool. I get it, but
no, I understand.
Yeah,
I'm kind of I'm on the similar side to you. Like, I definitely don't like Adonis even remotely. as much as Rocky.
No.
And I think I've said before, I don't think I'll like the Creed films without Rocky in them.
No.
Like, they're not strong enough on their own without him. Like, I like without Stallone in this film, this wouldn't be a very good film.
Oh yeah. I was actually just thinking this is our second episode without any Rocky.
Yeah, but it's like the only reason it's worth discussing, to be honest, is because it relates back to the Rocky films.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason this movie's popular. If you had this exact same plot, but a guy whose father died in the ring, and then he meets his father's opponent, maybe that movie would come out, but no one would care that much about it, and it wouldn't really be remembered, probably.
Yeah.
Unless someone did a bang-up job or something.
Yeah, let's pretend this film exists without Stallone playing. Let's say the guy's name was Charlie instead of Rocky, and the Rocky films never existed. This film, maybe critics would be like, "Oh, this is kind of a nice, well-to-do film," but then, yeah, this is definitely people are coming to the theater. Like 80% of the theater attendants were Rocky fans.
Oh, more, almost all, I'm sure.
Except for the odd person who's never seen Rocky, because there were some.
Yeah, but they're probably with someone who saw Rocky.
That's true. That's true.
I think if you've gone this long without seeing Rocky, you're not going to bother to go see Creed unless like someone makes you do it. I think maybe listeners, if any of you got hooked on the Creed first and then for Rocky, please let us know by the email. I'm sure there's somebody, maybe not in our audience, but out in the world.
All right. Well, I just reiterate. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. I am enjoying this. It's fun. Kyle, you are a great co-host. Thanks for always putting me in my place when I tell bad jokes. Thank you.
And thank you for basically you do all the work and I just show up occasionally to talk. It's a very unequal relationship, but you get all the Patreon money.
Which goes directly to the feed. And whatever is left over, I will say yes. I don't know. It kind of just poofs away into our bank account, but it's appreciated because you're, like I've said before, it helps pay for the feed. But you're also you're throwing a couple tips our way to say thanks for the editing, the recording.
I'm sure your wage for this would be like less than $1 an hour.
Oh man.
So
let me give you an idea. People charge, I think it's because I am a podcaster, so I'm in a lot of podcasting communities that are podcasters. And I hear and listen to chatter on Facebook and stuff. And people do resource themselves and or their episodes out to be edited. And it's anywhere from, it's like $20 to $30 an hour to have someone edit your show.
That seems reasonable wage for that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So it takes me, like I've said before, for 1 hour recording, it's at least 3 to 5 hours of editing. At least. So I'm doing let's say $80 to $100 per episode of editing that I can't afford to pay someone else to do. Yeah, this is for man hours if you want, or like billable hours I pay myself, which is.
But you get that satisfaction in your heart. But you're putting out a good product.
Yeah, well, is that true? Is it a good product? Oh, man.
We'll let the listeners decide. But the answer is yes.
And if you're listening to this episode and you missed the release, there was a new Stallone Podcast Network episode where I got together with Craig from Slycast, Doug from Rocky Minute, and Mike Kunda from Slycast. We had a great roundtable discussion about Stallone, the Rocky movies, Rambo, future projects. That is on the same feed, but it's under the Stallone Podcast Network section, if that makes sense. So if you're an iTunes listener, you'll see what I mean. If you're not, you'll see it there anyways, labeled as such. So go check that out if you haven't already. All right, Kyle, you ready to take us out?
Ding, ding.
All right, brother.
That's a fun episode.
It was good. I'm enjoying this. I think partly why I'm enjoying this too is because it is fresh. It is. I haven't seen these films as much. So I'm kind of catching things, watching it with a critical eye, like little things like, oh, that is a Little Duke. I caught that Little Duke as well, which I never caught before. So it's I'm enjoying this, and Michael B. Jordan is I'm enjoying him more than I think I'm enjoying this more watching it with the critical eye and delving into every little nuance. So yeah, I'm happy we're doing it this way. No, we're not rushing it.
And we did 8 minutes of film this time. instead of 5.
This is gonna be another 40 episode season. This might take 2 years to get through. That's okay. It's called the Rocky Creed Podcast. We're not going anywhere. Yeah.
Not going anywhere.
All right, man.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon. Talk to you
Have a
later.
good night, my friend. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.